Teo looks like his whole world just ended. Sejun Park notices the cat moping around and asks what's wrong. He tries to brighten the mood with a big, friendly smile. One of the white farmer bunnies pops out, looking fancy with some flowers. Turns out, they've turned this cave into a legitimate tropical resort. Sejun is fully relaxed on a beach chair, getting the 5-star treatment from the rabbits. He tells Teo that things are finally starting to look up. The bunnies are already busy roasting fish over an open flame. Teo sips his drink, but he still looks pretty miserable. Sejun waves the bunnies over, signaling for the main course. He presents the feast with a proud shout. They bring over 2 giant golden grilled fish that look incredible. Sejun kicks back while Teo starts drooling uncontrollably. The cat remembers the sketchy merchants who ripped him off earlier. He's trying to resist, but the smell is clearly overpowering him. He gets ready to dig in, thinking his luck has finally changed. But then Sejun gives him this terrifyingly greedy look. He piles the fish even higher, dangling the bait right in front of the cat. Teo is completely hooked, eyes sparkling and paws shaking. Sejun crosses his arms, looking like a total boss who just won a negotiation. He makes a face that screams, "I'm about to own your soul." Teo is overjoyed, his heart thumping with excitement. Sejun asks if he really wants the food, knowing exactly what the answer is. A contract and a quill appear out of nowhere. Sejun prepares to write down the terms of their new partnership. He keeps acting friendly, but Teo is starting to look a little worried. The cat lets out a desperate meow as he realizes what he's signing. The deal is struck, and the contract disappears into a cloud of magic. Teo just slumps over, realizing he's been played. Sejun checks his status window while the cat faceplants into the dirt. Teo looks at the screen, sweating as he sees his new job title. Sejun reaches out, trying to smooth things over with his new intern. He gives him some friendly head pats, and the cat's tail starts wagging instinctively. Teo is already purring, forgetting all about the contract. Sejun asks him what kind of merchandise he usually carries. He's got a much better product for the cat to sell. He holds up a bright, juicy cherry tomato. Sejun shows him the rest of the crop growing in his hidden garden. He tells Teo about the magical effects, and the cat's eyes nearly pop out. Sejun gives him a satisfied grin, knowing they're about to be rich. The bunnies start loading up the baskets for their first big shipment. They've got a massive stockpile of grilled fish and magical tomatoes ready to go. The white farmer bunnies finish packing the last of the harvest. Teo brags that his special rucksack keeps everything fresh, which is a huge plus for high-quality produce. With a quick toss, he throws his cloak over the stash, ready to move out. In a swirl of magic, the entire pile of food gets sucked into his tiny bag. The heavy sack hits the ground with a solid thud. Sejun Park watches as his new business partner gets ready for the long trek down the tower. He waves goodbye to the cat, wishing him luck on his first sales run. Far below on the lower floors, the peaceful atmosphere is shattered by a terrifying roar. A massive, purple spider-like monster crawls out, looking for its next meal. A group of hunters is already on the scene, with one guy holding the line behind a glowing shield. He doesn't hold back, smashing into the beast with a powerful strike. A massive explosion rocks the area as they take the monster down for good. The lead hunter delivers a final, decisive slash to make sure it's dead. He sighs in relief while the rest of the team starts to relax. One of his teammates walks over, but their victory celebration is cut short by a strange noise. The hunter snaps his head toward the bushes, sense on high alert. He demands to know who's hiding there, ready for another fight. A tiny paw reaches out from the leaves, and a cute voice asks if they're interested in some top-tier goods. Out steps Teo, looking as innocent and adorable as a cat merchant can be. The hunter is completely baffled. He definitely wasn't expecting a talking cat in a dungeon. He keeps his hand near his sword, not sure if this is some kind of monster trick, but the rest of the group can't help themselves and they rush over to get a better look. Teo leans into the cuteness, and the female hunters immediately lose their minds over him. He realizes that being this adorable is basically a cheat code for getting people to stop and listen. He gets straight to the point and shows off the basket of bright red cherry tomatoes. The hunters look at the fruit skeptically, wondering why a cat is selling groceries in a tower. They ask what's so special about these specific tomatoes. Teo starts his sales pitch, highlighting the incredible properties these magic crops have. One of them checks the system window, and her eyes go wide as she reads the stats. The whole group lets out a collective gasp when they realize just how valuable this stuff really is. They can't believe their luck. A permanent boost to magic and body fat reduction is every hunter's dream. Suddenly, everyone is crowded around Teo, waving their money in his face. One hunter is so excited, she tries to buy 100 at once, which even catches the cat off guard. Teo is having the time of his life, watching his inventory fly off the shelves. People are already talking about showing off their new beach bodies once the tomatoes start working. The line just keeps growing as every hunter in the area tries to get a piece of the harvest. Back at the farm, Sejun is busy tending to the next batch of crops with the bunnies. He takes a bite of one and enjoys the refreshing taste while he works. He looks up at the ceiling of the cave, wondering if Teo has managed to find any customers yet. He clenches his fist, feeling confident that their hard work is about to pay off. It doesn't take long before Teo returns, dumping a massive bag of dungeon coins on the ground. Sejun sits back and goes over the numbers, making sure they're sticking to their 70-30 profit split. Sejun oversees the thriving farm, where the queen poisonous honeybee buzzes over the rows of cherry tomatoes. He examines a handful of seeds, satisfied that his profit margin is staying steady at around 70%. One of the white farmer bunnies strains with all its might to harvest a giant green leaf. Sejun crouches down to inspect the new sprouts, determined to find ways to boost their productivity. He heads toward the cave's water source, followed closely by his loyal bunny companions. He plants a glowing torch into the mud near the edge of the dark pool. The light immediately draws several aggressive, sharp-toothed fish to the surface. A black-furred variant of the white farmer bunnies stands ready, gripping a heavy wooden mallet. As the fish leap out of the water, the bunny smashes them back down with incredible speed. Tat tat tat. The bunny doesn't miss a single beat, racking up kills one after another. The fish continue to flounder as they're knocked onto the dry ground. Sejun leads his group back across the cave, everyone feeling energized after the successful hunt. A sudden flash of blue light surrounds the black bunny, signaling a well-earned level up. Sejun gives the little guy a congratulatory pat, noting that the bunnies level up much faster than he does. He catches one of the white bunnies looking a bit envious of its sibling's new strength. To celebrate, Sejun pulls out his trusty black tumbler for a special treat. He reveals his secret stash, a packet of Ganu instant coffee powder. He carefully pours the dark grounds into a bottle of fresh water. The queen poisonous honeybee flies down to add a generous serving of her magical honey to the mix. With a quick stir, Sejun creates the ultimate pick-me-up, the honey Americano. He takes a long, refreshing gulp, the perfect balance of bitter and sweet hitting the spot. He shares the drink with the black bunny, who seems to enjoy the caffeine boost. The white bunny is absolutely stunned by the delicious flavor, its eyes wide with shock. Suddenly, Sejun hears a familiar buzzing and looks up to see a surprising sight. The queen poisonous honeybee has brought her entire golden hive right into the middle of his cave. Sejun is baffled, asking the tiny bee if she actually plans on moving in permanently. The whole bunny family gathers around to welcome their new, buzzing neighbor. A system window pops up with a new quest from the tower administrator, Eileen Pratani. Sejun realizes that Aileen must have been watching his recent trade with Teo and wants a piece of the action. He clears the quest instantly by offering up 10 of his best magic cherry tomatoes on a leaf. The tomatoes vanish into the system, leaving Sejun wondering if he was a bit too eager to please. He leans against the cave wall, hoping he didn't come across as too much of a sucker. Meanwhile, far away on a lower floor, the scene shifts to a large, stone building serving as a tavern. A green goblin slams his mug onto a wooden table, clearly in a bad mood. 3 goblins in dapper hats sit together, gossiping about the latest news in the merchant world. They mock a loser cat named Teo, laughing about how he wasted his money on useless trash items. The lead goblin predicts that the poor cat will be forced to work off a high-interest debt for the rest of his life. He lets out a malicious laugh, his red eyes glowing with greed and arrogance. His companions call him a genius, wondering if they should start looking for their next victim. They decide to pull up the Daily Peddler sales ranking to see where they stand. The goblin scrolls through the holographic list, expecting to see his name near the top. His smug expression turns to confusion when he realizes he's not even ranked in the top 1,000. The lead goblin taps the holographic screen, boasting about how his recent scams have finally paid off. His eyes bulge with shock as he stares at the updated peddler sales ranking, unable to believe what he's seeing. In the shadows of the tavern, other patrons whisper among themselves, wondering if the news about the cat merchant is actually true. A hand slams onto the counter in a fit of rage as a goblin screams that there's no way Teo actually made any sales. With glowing red eyes and a menacing scowl, he demands to know what kind of trickery Teo used to climb the ranking. Far from the bitter goblins, Teo is in high spirits, letting out a joyous and triumphant laugh. Back in the safety of the cave, Sejun Park continues to tend to his flourishing cherry tomato crop. Teo reports back to Sejun, explaining that his entire sales run only took a mere 4 days. The little cat strikes an exaggeratedly humble pose, hanging his head as if he's done something wrong. Sejun can't help but grin, his face briefly taking on a more cunning expression as he realizes the potential of their partnership. He takes a moment to sit in silence, looking out over the rows of plants that have become his livelihood. He's genuinely surprised that Teo managed to convince the hunters to buy up his entire stock so quickly. Sejun rewards his partner's hard work with a dungeon coin, which Teo receives with wide, sparkling eyes. Energized by the success, Teo declares his new ambition: to work even harder and eventually become a CEO. Sejun looks on with a skeptical but amused expression, questioning if Teo is getting a bit ahead of himself. He breaks into a genuine smile, glad to see that his feline business partner is so dedicated to their venture. Teo stares into the distance with a look of pure determination, imagining a future where everyone knows his name. A fiery passion ignites in the cat's eyes, his expression becoming suddenly and intensely focused. Sejun leans back, startled as Teo looms over him with a terrifyingly serious look on his face. With a frantic laugh, Teo zips away to get back to work, moving so fast that the white farmer bunnies are left flinching in surprise. Teo starts tossing tomatoes into a wheelbarrow with newfound vigor, realizing he needs to stop hiding Sejun's name as the grower. He pauses for a brief, nervous gulp, knowing that stepping into the spotlight is the only way to reach the top. Sejun sits on the ground with the black bunny, watching his partner's frantic hustle with a look of quiet appreciation. A glass skyscraper stands tall, reflecting the bright morning sun against a clear blue sky. On the streets below, 3 guys are hanging out. One of them, Dongshik Kim, is a massive wall of muscle in a tight black shirt. He's staring at a text from his daughter. She's bragging about some tomatoes that have all her friends green with envy. Dongshik is straight up sobbing. He's just so moved that his little girl is finally happy. His buddies are just watching him, wondering how such a big guy can have such a huge soft spot. He doesn't care about their stares. He's got his arms crossed, probably thinking about how to get her even more of those magic crops. A sharp click of a heel hits the pavement nearby. A group of women in athletic gear arrive, looking fit and ready for a mission. Dongshik spots them and waves. Looks like the team is all here. They head off together, ready for the day's work. Somewhere deep inside the tower, a long, loud meow echoes through a lush green forest. Meet Teo, a small orange cat wearing a green cloak and a backpack, trudging through the wilderness. He hears a rustle in the bushes and spots 2 hunters waiting up ahead. One of them, a woman with blonde hair, waves him over. Her partner checks the contents of Teo's bag, hoping for a restock of those rare vegetables. Teo gives them a polite little wave. He's a professional merchant, after all. He greets them with an enthusiastic paw. Time to talk business. A whole squad of hunters is standing by, all eyes on the tiny peddler. The lead hunter looks a bit surprised by the cat's confident attitude. Teo just smiles. He knows he's got the best goods in the dungeon. Thunk. He drops a heavy-looking bag on the grass. He reports that everything is already sold out. He pours out his earnings, a pile of gold coins that proves business is booming. The hunter nods in approval. This cat is a real gold mine. Teo giggles to himself. He's definitely climbing the corporate ladder today. A female hunter with dark hair leans down to get a better look at the cute merchant. She's clearly impressed by how well this little guy handles himself. She reaches out with a red stick-shaped snack. Teo takes a lick, and his mind is blown. He's never tasted anything so rich. Ta-da! He shows off the treat to everyone else like it's a legendary find. The hunter can't resist a photo op. She scoops him up for a quick selfie. She flashes a winning smile for the camera. The result is a perfect picture of the tower's most famous merchant. Meanwhile, deep in the tower, some green onions are flourishing under a cave opening. Something small and black splashes into a nearby pond. It's a black rabbit, surfing on a leaf like a pro, heading straight for Sejun Park. Sejun dips his foot into the water, looking a bit hesitant about the temperature. He stares out over the pond, where everything seems quiet for now. AAA. A family of white bunnies and the black one suddenly pop up, scaring the daylights out of him. Even the fish under the surface are curious about the commotion. Sejun sits on the rocks, chatting with the energetic black rabbit, while another one takes a nap in the sun. He starts rummaging through his black backpack, probably looking for more supplies for his cave farm. Sejun Park looks on as his farm family keeps growing, though some members are more airborne than others. A massive golden beehive has appeared on the cave wall, buzzing with activity. A system notification pops up, identifying the new neighbors as baby poisonous honeybees. Sejun turns his attention to his crops, which are thriving in the cave's unique environment. The tomato plants are blooming with clusters of vibrant yellow flowers, a sign of a good harvest to come. He finds one of the baby bees poking its head out of the hive, looking far more adorable than its name suggests. The whole hive is nestled high up in the cave, safe from any floor-level threats. Suddenly, the little bee's eyes glow a menacing red. Looks like they aren't just here for the scenery. Sejun grabs a tomato branch, his instincts telling him he might need to defend his turf. The black rabbit isn't taking any chances either, gripping its trusty hammer with a serious look. One of the bees lets out a high-pitched cry that echoes through the cave. The entire swarm halts in mid-air, waiting for a command. Sejun reaches out, hoping he can talk his way out of a potential stingfest. Then, a much larger figure emerges from the hive, a humanoid bee with a glowing crown and translucent wings. Sejun is completely floored. Is that a person? Meet the queen poisonous honeybee, who looks far more like a guardian than a simple monster. Up close, she's actually quite cute, sporting purple eyes and a playful, toothy grin. She hovers right in front of Sejun, who's still clutching his branch like a shield. The black rabbit is so shocked it drops its hammer right on the ground. While they stare each other down, the other bees are already busy gathering nectar. Meanwhile, in a massive, ancient library, a small black dragon named Aileen Pratani is engrossed in a book. She's studying dungeon administration for beginners, clearly new to the whole being a god thing. She takes a break to check her crystal ball, which she uses to monitor her dungeon. Inside, she sees the strange domestic scene unfolding between Sejun and his new humanoid friend. Sejun and his rabbit buddy are still trying to process the fact that they have a bee queen for a neighbor. The queen bee is surprisingly friendly, acting more like a playful sister than a terrifying monster. A baby bee takes a literal taste test of a tomato flower, and it looks like it's a big hit. The whole hive is buzzing with a new sense of purpose and joy. It's amazing how much this cave has changed since Sejun first fell into it. One of the little bees looks up at him with wide, curious eyes, seemingly happy with the new arrangement. They've even expanded their territory, building another hive on a tree branch outside. One of the white bunnies, wearing a little straw hat, helps out by watering the new sprouts. A baby bee snuggles into a honeycomb cell for a quick nap after a long day of flying. A bright, shimmering light suddenly fills the entire cave. The queen bee is undergoing a massive transformation, shedding her old form for something new. She looks down at her hands, clearly dazzled by the transformation. Sejun offers her the tomato flowers as a peace offering, and her eyes go wide with wonder. She stares at the bright yellow blooms like they're the most beautiful things she's ever seen. Then she dives in for a face-hugging hug, purring with pure happiness. Before he can even react, Sejun's entire shirt is covered in clinging baby bees. Everyone's having a great time, with the bunnies and bees all getting along under Sejun's care. Life at the top of the tower is getting a lot more crowded, but Sejun wouldn't have it any other way. Sejun Park wakes up to his usual morning routine, a pile of energetic rabbits using him as a bed. He manages to get up and head straight to the garden to check on his special project. There it is, a single carrot glowing with a magical purple light amidst the green leaves. Sejun peers closer, amazed that his experimental farming is actually working. The white farmer bunnies crowd around, their little noses twitching in anticipation. With a determined tug and a satisfying thunk, Sejun pulls the root from the soil. Tada! He holds up a massive, vibrant purple carrot, sparkling with dungeon energy. The rabbits look on with wide eyes, completely awestruck by the harvest. A system notification pings. Sejun has successfully grown an agility carrot. The carrot radiates a soft glow, a clear step up from any normal vegetable. Sejun takes a moment to admire the stats of his new super crop. He decides to put it to good use, and offers the carrot to his loyal bunny team. The rabbits gather around, their faces full of excitement as they prepare for a feast. One bunny, wearing a purple bandana, swings its sickle with a loud swish. With its agility boosted, the little farmer moves with a speed that's a blur to the eye. Chop chop, the carrot is diced into perfect slices in the blink of an eye. The other bunnies cheer and drool, ready to get a taste of the magical vegetable. The bandana-wearing bunny finishes the prep work with a flourish. Wish! One bunny tests its new legs, leaping through the air with effortless grace. They all dig in, munching away with happy tut-tut sounds. Sejun claps along, delighted to see his team so motivated and energized. Moving on to his next crop, he plucks a ripe purple tomato from the vine. He's gathered a whole bowl of them, each one a testament to his hard work. Suddenly, a quest completion window appears. It seems the dungeon administrator is very impressed. Sejun looks surprised as a reward starts to materialize right in the palm of his hand. Meanwhile, the garden is buzzing with the sounds of bees hard at work. Out of nowhere, a ginger cat in a green cloak named Teo appears with a startled craw. Sejun watches the newcomer, who seems a bit overwhelmed by the busy farm life. He can't help himself and immediately starts rubbing the cat's soft, fluffy cheeks. Teo quickly gives in to the affection, stretching out and purring happily. The cat pulls out a small brown sack, looking like he's ready to make a deal. Sejun peeks inside and finds the bag is brimming with shiny gold coins. Teo lets out a triumphant laugh, proud of the business he's conducted. Clink! He shows Sejun the gold, proving that farming in a dungeon can be very lucrative. The black rabbit gives Teo a friendly pat-pat on the head, welcoming him to the group. Sejun gives a thumbs up, feeling proud of how far his little farm has come. He notices Teo looking at something with a very intense, focused expression. It's a kitty treat, and Teo is absolutely obsessed, purring as he licks every last drop. Sejun watches with a smile as Teo and one of the bunnies share a quiet moment. Teo is completely lost in his snack, his eyes closed in pure bliss. Sejun reflects on his journey, realizing that the items he brought with him were the key to everything. Elsewhere, other brave souls prepare to cross the threshold into the dungeon's depths. Sejun is suddenly struck by an idea, his eyes wide with a mix of surprise and excitement. He starts laughing gleefully, his hands clasped together as he shares his plan with a very confused Teo. Teo, with a soft and adorable expression, holds out a kitty treat and asks if Sejun would like one too. Sejun Park was just trying to relax when this little ginger cat in a green cape snatched a treat right out of his hand. He tries to get the cat to settle down, but it's busy pulling on his shirt like its life depends on it. Looking at those teary eyes, it's pretty clear this cat Teo isn't going to take no for an answer. Sejun gives in and pats the little guy's head, trying to calm the drama. He shares a quick idea, and Teo immediately starts shouting about how brilliant the plan is. Sejun picks him up while one of the white farmer bunnies brings over some fresh green onions from the morning's harvest. As the bunnies get a campfire going to grill some fish, Sejun asks his new partner if the temperature is to his liking. He rips open another kitty treat to seal the deal on their new partnership. Teo goes absolutely wild for the snack, happily munching away while Sejun keeps the head pats coming. The little peddler is in heaven, purring up a storm as he finishes every last drop of that treat. He ends up totally relaxed and belly up in Sejun's arms, completely won over by the food. They sit by the fire together, Two unlikely partners planning their next move in this tower. Sejun starts thinking about the merchant system, looking at how they can climb the ranks from beginner to advanced. Teo flashes back to his rougher days when he was getting scammed by a shady goblin merchant on the lower floors. He looks up at Sejun with a sparkle in his eyes, ready to leave those days behind and start fresh. Teo is all smiles, but the reality of their situation is about to hit Sejun like a ton of bricks. The words 99th floor echo in his head, a heavy realization crashing down on him. His face goes pale as the truth sinks in. He's not at the bottom of the tower, he's at the very top. Sejun looks around at the cave walls, sweating as he realizes just how far away from the exit he really is. The mental weight of being stuck on the peak of the tower starts to make his head spin. Teo snaps him out of it with a quick slap to the face, telling him to pull himself together. The cat even stuffs a paw toward his mouth just to make sure he's listening. Teo turns back to the fire, casually flipping some fish like it's no big deal that they're trapped in the sky. The fish sizzles over the flames, smelling incredible despite the existential crisis happening a few feet away. Sejun takes a bite and realizes Teo is already talking shop, mentioning an order from his time as a peddler. He imagines himself as a legendary merchant, sporting a traditional traveler's hat and ready for business. Teo is fully on board, striking a pose and promising that they'll offer the best prices in the whole tower. He and Teo head out into the forest area, ready to test their new business model on the floors below. It turns out hunters are desperate for real food, and they're more than willing to pay top coin for a few tomatoes. Sejun ends up swimming in dungeon coins, while Teo celebrates their first big win as a team. Back at the cave, the stress finally catches up to him, and he starts shaking with frustration. He grabs his hair and lets out a scream, while Teo and the bunnies just keep playing like everything is normal. He bellows at the top of his lungs toward the sky, wondering how his life turned into a farming simulator. Despite the shouting, the farm keeps running, with one of the bunnies diligently watering the sprouts. The queen poisonous honeybee hovers over the garden with her swarm, keeping an eye on the crops. High above, the administrator, Aileen Pratani, snacks on a tomato skewer while she listens to the commotion. Sejun is huffing and puffing after a long day of work, looking over the thriving little ecosystem he's built. He's exhausted, but Teo is still full of energy, playing around on the head of one of the bunnies. He looks up as the queen bee approaches, realizing he has a lot more responsibility than he ever asked for. Two of his magic cherry tomatoes sit on a plate, the secret ingredients that are keeping this whole place running. Sejun squats down to draw a map in the dirt, planning out their next expansion with Teo and the bunny family. He peers down a dark opening in the floor, and Teo looks ready to jump in and start the next big adventure. A huge crimson grizzly looms in the shadows, its blue eyes glowing with a predatory hunger. Sejun Park gulps, sweating as he wonders if this is the same monster that haunted his dreams that night. Meanwhile, Queen Poisonous Honeybee and her little workers keep a watchful eye over the ripening tomatoes. The bees buzz through the forest clearing, heading toward a mysterious stone pit in the middle of the field. Further down the mountain, a row of ancient bone-like arches marks the entrance to a small camp. From a high vantage point, Teo looks down at a group of hunters in black gear gathered around a fire. A couple of the hunters notice a small figure on the cliffside and start pointing it out. Without missing a beat, Teo hops down the rocky slope, landing with a light thud. The whole squad rushes over the second they realize their favorite little peddler is back. One massive hunter gets practically bounced around by the group's excitement as Teo watches from the sidelines. The big guy hauls a heavy sack over his shoulder, likely filled with more dungeon coins than he can count. Teo gives them a sharp look, looking like he's ready to drop some serious business news on them. He stands tall before the hunters, ready to start the most high-stakes produce sale in history. With a basket of tomatoes in hand, he announces he's got 500 cherry tomatoes up for grabs. Back at the farm, the white farmer bunnies are working overtime to keep up with the demand, while Sejun takes a quick breather. He stands up and gives his arms a good stretch, feeling the burn after a long morning of farming. Suddenly, a system window pops up right in front of him, catching him completely off guard. The message explains that rewards only come after quests are finished, and the administrator is sorry, but rules are rules. Sejun doesn't let it get to him, sharing a bamboo cup of fresh juice with the bunnies and Queen Bee. He gets back to work, carefully gathering a fresh batch of tomatoes from the hidden garden. He takes a single tomato and crushes it in his fist with an intense, determined look on his face. Wiping the sweat from his brow, he finishes prepping a special cup of red juice on a nearby rock. Queen Bee is practically buzzing with excitement as she adds a magical blob of honey to the mix. The red liquid splashes into the bamboo cup, creating the perfect refreshing drink. Sejun presents the final product, a glass of cherry tomato juice that looks good enough for a king. Deep in the tower's control room, Aileen Pratani takes a long slurp through a bamboo straw. She absolutely loves it, looking like she's in heaven as little hearts float around her. Sejun sees a new message pop up. The administrator is gushing about how delicious the juice is. He's stunned, not expecting such a strong reaction from the person running the whole tower. Aileen peers through her glowing orb, her blue eyes fixed on the human who made the drink. She circles the orb, fascinated by this weird farmer who keeps sending her treats. While she twirls her straw, she keeps her gaze locked on the screen, watching Sejun's every move. Sejun clears his throat and speaks directly to the orb, calling out to the administrator. He points a finger up, trying to negotiate for something better than just a thank you message. Aileen's expression shifts to a cold, offended glare as she realizes he's making demands. Suddenly, Sejun is bombarded by a wave of angry screens calling him stupid and mean. He can only watch in confusion as the windows vanish into thin air, leaving him alone again. Downstairs, Teo is busy dealing with the hunters, who are looking at him like he's a celebrity. One of the men looks like he just saw a ghost, completely losing his cool in front of the cat. Another hunter raises his hand, trying to get a word in before the tomatoes sell out. They all stare at the small basket Teo is guarding, knowing it's worth its weight in gold. The big hunter clenches his fist, looking shocked by whatever price Teo just quoted him. One hunter excitedly shouts out a bid of 50 coins, hoping to snag some of the magic tomatoes. The man in the gray suit looks back toward the crowd, clearly surprised by how high the prices are going. Teo stands guard over his basket of ripe cherry tomatoes as the group of hunters looks on with greed in their eyes. The little ginger cat raises a paw, announcing that the next round of auctions is officially starting. The man in the gray suit remains calm, while the hunter behind him is completely flabbergasted by the cost. Desperate for the buffs, the hunters start shaking each other, begging to borrow some extra coins for the bidding. The man in the gray suit inspects the produce, giving a nod of approval at the high quality of the tomatoes. A woman with a black ponytail waves cheerfully at Teo, who seems to recognize her from a previous trip. Teo's face lights up with joy as she approaches, thrilled that she remembered him. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a cat treat, making Teo's mouth water instantly. Next, she offers him a packet of instant coffee, a rare delicacy in the dungeon that Teo absolutely loves. Teo lets out a triumphant laugh, happily accepting the gifts from his favorite customer. He clutches his new treasures, thinking about how much he's going to enjoy these later on. The woman leans in for a quick selfie with the world's cutest dungeon peddler, and Teo strikes a pose. She captures another shot, both of them beaming with happiness in the bright clearing. She can't resist reaching out to squeeze Teo's soft pink paw pads, marveling at how plush they feel. Teo lets her poke and prod at his paws, enjoying the attention as she gushes over how soft he is. As a reward for being so patient, she hands him a couple more sticks of his favorite treats. Teo is in feline heaven, happily munching on the treats while the woman looks on with a satisfied smile. He gives a small nod as they chat, looking like a very professional and very pampered businessman. He holds his paws up for her to see, looking incredibly proud of his well-maintained pink pads. Another young hunter steps up, politely asking if she can take a selfie with the famous cat as well. Teo is more than happy to oblige, posing with his paws up while she snaps a photo on her phone. She thanks him with a bright smile, and Teo turns back to his business with a quick swish of his tail. He continues to show off his cute features, knowing exactly how to charm his customers for better tips. By the end of it, Teo is carrying a massive pile of gifts and snacks, looking like he hit the jackpot. He lets out a hearty laugh, practically glowing with the satisfaction of a job well done. Nearby, the woman with the ponytail is busy typing out hashtags on her phone, ready to post her new photos. She scrolls through the pictures with a satisfied grin, happy to have proof of her meeting with the peddler. Teo suddenly pops up behind her, startling her as he asks what she's doing on that glowing device. He sniffs the air around her, commenting that she has a very familiar scent. Teo tilts his head, looking deep in thought as he tries to place exactly where he's smelled that aroma before. Meanwhile, back at the hidden farm, a small bee flies past the lush rows of tomato plant. It lands on a bright yellow flower, working diligently to gather nectar under the watchful eye of Sejun Park. Nearby, thick golden honey drips into a clear glass bottle, filling the air with a sweet, sugary scent. Sejun stands proudly in his garden, crossing his arms as he admires the fruits of his hard labor. He reaches down and pulls a massive, healthy-looking carrot right out of the dark soil with a satisfying thunk. A blue system window appears, identifying the harvest as an agility carrot, a perfect result. Sejun holds up his prize with a big grin, while the white farmer bunnies jump for joy in the background. The bunnies' eyes sparkle with excitement as they look at the mountain of fresh carrots they've grown. Sejun starts handing out the snacks, making sure every one of his little helpers gets a well-deserved treat. The white farmer bunnies happily scamper off, each carrying a carrot that's almost as big as they are. A vibrant agility carrot glows with magical energy, a testament to the high-quality soil Sejun has been cultivating. Two white farmer bunnies take charge of a small wheelbarrow, carefully transporting a heavy load of the prized vegetables. The harvest is plentiful, with carrots piled high amidst the lush green tops scattered across the ground. Sejun Park squats down to harvest another root, adding to the impressive mound that's already been gathered. In their haste to help, one clumsy bunny falls flat on its back with a soft thud, while another happily nibbles on its reward. The team of bunnies starts rolling their loaded carts toward the dark entrance of the cave to store the food. A system notification dings in the air, announcing that Sejun has earned 10 XP and reached a new level. Another window pops up with a message from the tower administrator, stating that they weren't responsible for the recent events. Sejun rubs his chin thoughtfully, intrigued by the mystery of who might be assisting him behind the scenes. The narration reflects on how hunters usually receive combat-heavy quests, showing a glimpse of the dangerous monsters they face, while other adventurers are tasked with slaying hundreds of orcs and slimes to prove their strength, and spend their days in the brutal cycle of monster subjugation and constant battle. Sejun finds his peace sitting quietly with a bunny on his lap, checking his latest system updates. He surveys his growing farm from above, satisfied with the neat rows of crops he's managed to establish. Yay, all done, he sighs happily, raising a fist in victory after a long but rewarding day of labor. The white farmer bunnies share in his joy, hopping around and celebrating the completion of their hard work. They prepare to head back for the evening, though the transition from work to rest is a bit chaotic. One bunny wails in protest while another frustratedly pounds on a stump, making Sejun wonder if they'll ever settle down. He smiles at their antics and bids them a good night, ushering the group toward their sleeping spots. Sejun tucks himself in under a green checkered blanket, with bunnies snuggled up beside him on a bed of fresh grass. He drifts off with a peaceful expression, finally getting the rest he needs to prepare for tomorrow's work. Meanwhile, in a different part of the dungeon, a solitary hunter sits on a boulder looking completely drained. A woman in tactical black gear walks up to him, leading Teo back to the group after his successful trading run. Teo looks up with a wide, toothy grin and a wave of his paw, clearly pleased with himself as the chapter ends. Teo hands over a contract to the hunter, Dongshik Kim. Dongshik scans the paper, and the massive price tag nearly makes his heart stop. But then he sees the goods, a pile of fresh, magic-infused cherry tomatoes. He stands there shaking, unable to believe someone is actually selling these high-tier items. The guy literally starts crying tears of joy because securing these makes him a hero to his daughter. We get a quick flashback to Sejun Park giving his little cat merchant some business advice back at the farm. Back at the trade, Teo is looking pretty smug about his successful sales pitch. He points at the tomatoes, basically telling the hunter they're worth every single penny. Dongshik is baffled that such rare produce is coming from a farmer without any guild affiliation. Teo's looking extremely proud of himself as he prepares to wrap things up. He reaches out a paw, and the two of them officially shake on the deal. Dongshik signs his name on the dotted line, completing the trade of the century. A blue system window pops up in front of Teo, confirming the transaction is official. Dongshik hauls his basket away, leaving Teo with a very satisfied expression. He's so hyped about the purchase that he starts screaming with pure excitement. Meanwhile, back in the cave, the white farmer bunnies are busy patting down the soil. Sejun is blown away by how professional and dedicated these little guys are. It's a full-on construction site, with bunnies of all colors pitching in to build their home. They've even managed to build some pretty cozy-looking burrow houses into the ground. A couple of the bunnies just shrug, acting like building an underground village is just another Tuesday. Sejun can't help but give them some celebratory head pats for their hard work. He's so happy with the progress that he calls for a housewarming party to celebrate. He holds up his mug, ready to toast to their tiny victories in this giant tower. The bunnies are already ahead of him, digging into some fresh carrots with gusto. Sejun even pours out some juice for the little black bunny, who seems to be the life of the party. It's a wholesome scene as they all feast together after a long day of farming. Sejun watches his little farm family, finally feeling like he's built something real here. Then, a system alert interrupts the peace the seed store has finally been unlocked. Sejun gets a massive grin on his face. This is the moment he's been waiting for to grow his business. He taps the screen, and the system starts processing his long-awaited reward. He pulls a handful of new reward cards, looking like he just hit the jackpot. A giant burlap sack starts forming in a burst of shimmering magic light. Sejun looks up, realizing the system's delivery is arriving much faster than expected. The massive bag drops right on top of him, catching him completely off guard. It hits the ground with a heavy thud, and a pile of potatoes spill out across the soil. The sudden crash startles the bunnies, and one of them looks ready to throw hands with the bag. Sejun reaches into the sack to check out the rest of his new inventory. He pulls out a perfect potato, looking more excited than a kid on Christmas morning. He raises his fist in the air, declaring that their potato empire officially begins tomorrow. The scene shifts to the middleman zone, a bustling marketplace town deep within the tower. It's a melting pot of different races and adventurers, all looking for their next big deal. And right there in the thick of it, Teo is already busy rummaging through goods for his next trade. Teo is browsing the market and finds a frying pan that looks perfect for his needs. He excitedly shows his pics to a local shopkeeper, a tough-looking husky merchant, but the merchant just scoffs at the small pile of kitchenware, clearly expecting a bigger sale. Teo doesn't let the grumpy shopkeeper ruin his mood and keeps a cheerful bounce in his step. The husky merchant is left standing there, completely baffled by the cat's high energy. With a quick shout of thanks, Teo dashes off to find the next item on his list. He stops at a table and counts out his hard-earned coins, making sure he has enough for everything. He ducks into a quiet alleyway to catch his breath and double-check his directions. Feeling invigorated, he throws his paws up and cheers, ready to tackle the rest of his shopping list. Nearby, a young pup merchant is trying to haggle with a skeptical raccoon shopkeeper. The pup turns on the charm, but the raccoon isn't budging on the price at all. The pup keeps pushing for a discount, but it's clear the old raccoon has seen this trick 1,000 times. Teo remembers Sejun Park's warnings about the tricky merchants in this part of the tower. He gives himself a pep talk, determined to stick to the plan and get exactly what Sejun asked for. He knows he has to be careful, especially since he's dealing with currency from outside the tower. In another corner of the market, a shady-looking goblin merchant is cornering a naive-looking cloaked figure. The goblin flashes a wicked grin as he holds up a mysterious thermos, claiming it's a legendary item. Teo spots the interaction from a distance and senses that something is definitely wrong. He rushes over, seeing the goblin about to close a clearly fraudulent deal. The goblin flinches as Teo suddenly appears, his guilty conscience getting the better of him. Teo wastes no time and confronts the shady merchant right then and there. The goblin tries to play it cool, acting like he was just helping out a fellow traveler. He starts making excuses, but Teo isn't buying any of it. Teo points directly at the fake item, calling out the goblin for his blatant scam. He's absolutely furious, shouting at the top of his lungs about the merchant's dishonesty. The goblin starts to sweat, realizing he's been caught red-handed by someone who knows their stuff. He realizes he can't win this argument and decides to make a run for it. He dashes away into the crowd, leaving the cloaked figure standing there in confusion. The cloaked figure bows respectfully to Teo, clearly grateful for the intervention. Teo just laughs it off, feeling like a hero for saving a fellow shopper from a scam. Suddenly, a pair of intense red eyes narrow as they watch the scene unfold from the shadows. A fox-like figure in a blue hood looks up, having witnessed the entire confrontation. Nearby, two more fox guards in official uniforms stand at the ready, looking serious. A white fox pup in a similar uniform steps forward, looking eager to help. The hooded figure flips back their cloak, revealing themselves to be a senior guard member. The guard captain sighs, clearly exhausted by the constant stream of petty crimes in the market. Their eyes glow with a piercing light as they focus on their next objective. Behind them, the junior guards are huddled together, looking a bit overwhelmed by the captain's intensity. The captain marches forward, their blue cape billowing behind them as they lead the way. The scene flashes back to the shady goblin, who is now bragging about his latest success. The captain's eyes narrow as they think about how many people this goblin has already tricked. It turns out the goblin had been targeting novice peddlers, forcing them to buy his illegal junk. The female fox guard with sharp red eyes watches the interaction between Teo and the merchant from the shadows. She narrows her eyes, her gaze fixed on the peculiar cat merchant who just caused such a stir. She decides that they need to investigate this Teo further to see what his real business is in the tower. Back at his secluded cave farm, Sejun Park is in high spirits as he carries a freshly harvested, oversized potato. He shows off the impressive tuber to one of his dedicated white farmer bunny helpers. Sejun gives the bunny specific instructions, pointing out exactly how he wants the next phase of planting to go. One of the bunnies takes a small tool and expertly chops a potato into smaller pieces to use as seed. The chopped pieces are laid out on the soil, ready to be planted in neat rows across the cave floor. Another bunny carefully waters the freshly planted seeds, ensuring they have everything they need to grow. Sejun joins in the hard work, carefully placing a piece of potato into the nutrient-rich earth. He stands back with his hands on his hips, admiring the growing field with a proud bunny by his side. As he works, Sejun can't help but daydream about the delicious, steaming bowl of ramen he hopes to eat someday. A system notification chimes, announcing that Sejun has successfully created a 300 square foot potato field. The news sends the bunnies into a frenzy of excitement as they celebrate their major farming achievement. Sejun looks out over the vast expanse of greenery, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment and hope. The intense labor eventually catches up with them, leaving some of the bunnies feeling completely drained. Sejun watches with a sympathetic smile as the bunnies comfort each other after their long day of work. A notification informs him that his familiarity with sewing has increased, which will make their future work even more effective. The bunnies quickly regain their energy, giggling and whispering as they prepare for the next task. Sejun clenches his fist, fueled by a new sense of purpose and the desire to build a thriving life here. The bunnies follow his lead with renewed vigor, using their various tools to tend to the sprawling sweet potato plants. One bunny struggles slightly as it pushes a wheelbarrow overflowing with harvested vines and leaves. A black bunny huffs and puffs, putting all its strength into hauling a heavy load of greenery across the field. Sejun reaches out to help them, guiding the wheelbarrows through the narrow paths between the crops. A small bunny uses its shovel to dig a new hole, its little paws working fast in the soft dirt. The entire cave floor is now covered in healthy, vibrant sweet potato plants as far as the eye can see. Sejun and his bunny family take a moment to stand together and admire the incredible result of their hard work. The bunnies start to play and dance through the field, their joyful bap and boop sounds filling the cave. They twirl and bounce around Sejun, who can't help but feel happy watching their infectious enthusiasm. He smiles as he prepares to plant the final few stems, enjoying the lively atmosphere they've created. Suddenly, a bright beam of light shoots up from the spot where Sejun just planted a stem. The soil begins to shine with an intense, golden glow that catches Sejun completely off guard. A massive flash of light erupts from the earth, illuminating the entire cave in a brilliant radiance. Hovering nearby, the queen poisonous honeybee watches the phenomenon with a look of pure amazement. Sejun shields his eyes from the blinding glare as the energy continues to pulse from the ground. A pool of golden energy forms on the cave floor, concentrating around a single glowing plant. As the light fades, it reveals a remarkable new crop, a solar sweet potato that literally sparkles with energy. A system window explains that these mutant potatoes can dissolve body fat and provide immunity to the cold. Sejun is shocked by the incredible properties of his new discovery, his jaw dropping as he reads the notification. The scene suddenly shifts away from the magical cave to a quiet, modern city neighborhood under a bright blue sky. A sleek black sedan pulls into a parking lot, the tires screeching softly as it comes to a sudden stop. A person in formal black attire steps out of the car, their polished shoe making a sharp tap on the pavement. The man stands by his car, holding a large yellow-wrapped package securely under his arm, while looking ahead with a serious and determined expression. Kim Dong-shik arrives at a regular apartment building, looking sharp in his suit as he carries a package. He double-checks the apartment number and rings the bell. Inside, the family is startled by the sudden visitor at their door. Sejun's brother and mom open the door, clearly confused by the formal-looking man standing there. Kim Dong-shik maintains a professional posture while the family stares at him in surprise. They invite him in and set out some snacks. Though the atmosphere is thick with tension, he sits down with Sejun's parents and brother, keeping a very serious expression. He reaches out and hands Sejun's father a business card. The brother leans in, and his eyes practically pop out of his head when he reads it. It's a card for Kim Dong-shik, a high-ranking team leader from the legendary Phoenix Guild. The whole family immediately starts bowing, completely overwhelmed by the presence of such a high-tier hunter. Kim Dong-shik pulls out a white envelope, and Sejun's dad looks like he's about to break down. He clutches the envelope and starts sobbing right there at the table. Kim Dong-shik tries to calm them down, waving his hands to show it's no big deal. The dad carefully pulls out what's inside with trembling hands. It's a cashier's check for 50 million won, a life-changing amount of money for them. They stare at Kim Dong-shik in total disbelief as he explains where the money came from. The dad starts cheering, holding the check up like it's a winning lottery ticket. The brother is hyped, asking if this is really coming from Sejun in the tower. Kim Dong-shik talks about how the world has been obsessed with the towers for 10 years now. He mentions a mysterious solo hunter who's been making insane progress, reaching the 40th level in record time. The guild leader wonders if this person is some kind of once-in-a-century genius. The dad gives the brother a quick thwack for being too loud while they're talking. Mission accomplished. Kim Dong-shik takes his leave and heads back to his car. He walks across the parking lot, looking much more relaxed now that he's alone. A system notification pings in front of him. Contract quest complete. He leans back in his driver's seat, letting out a satisfied breath. His phone starts ringing. It's a call from someone labeled My Love. He picks up with a huge smile, clearly in a great mood after finishing the job. He drives away, leaving the apartment complex behind. Meanwhile, deep in a cave, Sejun Park is hard at work with a bunch of round, fluffy, white farmer bunnies. A sudden glow from the dirt catches everyone's attention. Sejun pulls a massive sweet potato out of the ground, looking pretty proud of the haul. One of the tiny bunnies helps out with a watering can. It's doing its best. Sejun shouts for joy. It's officially harvest time. He holds up a whole bunch of them, and even the bunny in the straw hat is excited. They load the harvest into a wheelbarrow to move everything to the camp. Before long, they've got a campfire crackling, roasting the potatoes over the flames. Sejun taps one with a stick to see if it's cooked through yet. The skin is charred just right, and it lets out a little puff of steam. A bunny blows on its hot potato, eager to finally take a bite. Sejun cracks one open, revealing the steaming golden center. Looks like farming is the way to go. Everyone's digging into the freshly roasted sweet potatoes. The bunnies are absolutely loving it, stuffing their faces as fast as they can. Even the little one with the purple headpiece is enjoying a big chunk. Sejun watches his fluffy helpers bond over the meal, feeling pretty good about the vibe. A system message pops up. Turns out the tower administrator is watching and drooling, waiting for a taste. Sejun turns around, eyeing the remaining pile of sweet potatoes. Somewhere else in the tower, a pair of dark claws carefully picks up a steaming piece. It's Eileen Pratani, the Black Dragon administrator, sitting in her private study with a snack. She tosses the piece in her mouth, clearly enjoying the flavor. She looks down, disappointed to find her bowl is already empty. She turns her attention back to a glowing orb that's broadcasting Sejun's every move. On the screen, Sejun is busy prepping a whole new batch of food. He starts slicing the sweet potatoes into long, thin strips on a flat rock. One of the bunnies jumps in to help, using its sickle to slice them up with expert speed. In no time, they have a huge pile of perfectly cut sweet potato strips ready for drying. Sejun gives the bunny a thumbs up, impressed by its skills. The system dings again. The administrator is curious about what he's cooking up now. Meanwhile, Teo the cat peddler is off on his own adventure, whistling while he snacks on a skewer. Back at the farm, Sejun is trying to grow something new using carrot tops and water. Once they sprout, he carefully taps them into the cave's nutrient-rich soil. System messages flood his vision, confirming he's leveled up his sowing skill again. He pats the dirt down, making sure the new plants are snug and secure. He explains that you can't waste anything, even the parts of the carrot the bunnies don't eat can be used. By replanting the tops, he can grow whole new plants and harvest seeds for the future. Soon enough, the cave is filled with the white, lacy flowers of the carrot plant. The greenery is thriving, turning the dark cave into a proper underground garden. Sejun squats down to admire the flowers while a bunny cheers beside him. Another system alert pops up. The administrator is getting impatient, wondering when the dried treats will be done. A little black bunny watches him closely, waiting for its next job. Sejun stands up with a bunny on each shoulder, ready to check on his drying racks. The sweet potato strips are laid out in neat rows on large leaves. He picks one up to check the texture, seeing if it's reached that perfect chewiness. They look great, golden, sweet, and just a bit translucent. Sejun takes a bite and his face lights up. It's exactly what he wanted. The bunnies join in, and the snacks are officially a hit. He grabs 2 big handfuls, unable to stop himself from snacking on his own product. He starts gathering them all up, making sure not to drop a single piece. The administrator is practically shouting through the system now, urging him to hurry up and finish the quest. Sejun packs some into his bag, feeling a bit bad that he only has basic stuff to offer his high-level fan. He holds up a neatly tied bag of the dried strips with a big "ta-da!" He flinches when a sudden message appears. The administrator is already thanking him before he even sends it. He sits back down, crossing his arms as he looks at the remaining bowl of treats. Aileen Pratani stares at the gift in shock, her heart racing at the surprise. She lets out a deafening "Kyaaa," her dignity forgotten as she celebrates getting the treats. A warm pink glow fills her space as she prepares to dive into the bag of dried sweet potatoes. Back in the dungeon cave, Sejun is taking a quick break to enjoy a snack of his own. His bunny companions are all gathered around a big leaf, happily munching on the strips. Sejun is suddenly startled by a loud buzzing as a group of bees arrives on the scene. A system message dings. He's managed to earn some high-quality cornflower pollen. The corn stalks are growing tall and healthy, their golden tassels reaching for the cave roof. He stands proudly before his little field, impressed by how well the dungeon soil is working. The worker bees hover over the ripening corn, doing their part for the farm. Sejun picks up one of the small, glowing pollen balls and tosses it into his mouth. It's an instant hit. He breaks into a joyful laugh, delighted by the sweet flavor. The buzzing gets louder as even more bees join the party in the middle of the cave. One of the workers hovers over his hands, dropping a generous pile of the golden treats. The queen poisonous honeybee herself descends, her large purple eyes fixed on the human farmer. Out of nowhere, Teo, the cat merchant, comes charging in with a grumpy growl. He starts sniffing the air frantically, his face scrunched up in discomfort. Achoo! I hate pollen, meow. He sneezes violently, clinging to Sejun's leg for support. Sejun looks down at his feline friend, trying not to laugh at the poor cat's dramatic allergies. Despite the sneezing, Teo manages to pull up a business interface to show Sejun. He stands tall and strikes a proud pose, ready to discuss their latest trade. Sejun's attention is drawn to the vibrant yellow flowers and green fruit of his cherry tomato plants. A bunny wearing a little straw hat leans in to get a closer look at the ripening crop. The sight of fresh food brings back a wave of memories of his family gathered around the dinner table. He looks up at the distant patch of blue sky, a heavy feeling of homesickness washing over him. For a moment, the silence of the cave feels a little more lonely than usual. His fluffy friends aren't about to let him mope, though they're right there to cheer him up. Soon, the whole crew is surrounding him, their cheerful energy impossible to ignore. Even the queen poisonous honeybee settles onto his head as he laughs and pets his friends. Teo mentions the coins he spent on supplies, bringing Sejun's focus back to reality. The cat merchant hands over a massive sack of dungeon coins, much to Sejun's shock. He then presents a sturdy cast iron frying pan with a satisfying clatter. Sejun holds his new treasure aloft, his eyes sparkling at the thought of finally cooking real meals. The bunnies are eager to help, pulling more items out of their large storage bags. He takes a look at the stats for a new cast iron saucepan, noting its high durability. See? The dungeon isn't so bad when you have the right tools, he exclaims. As he examines a new dagger, a system window pops up with its official item description. Teo is busy entertaining a bunny with a colorful pinwheel while Sejun checks out the weapon. It's a level E dagger, and Sejun looks at the sleek blade with a mix of curiosity and concern. The system dings with a message that the administrator is drooling again, and Sejun snaps back in annoyance. The dagger sits on a bed of magical sparkles as the system reveals its requirement. Teo gives a wide, confident grin, absolutely sure that his wares are exactly what the farmer needed. High above the farm, the landscape opens up into a breathtaking view of lush forests and rolling blue mountains. Tucked away in a quiet corner of the woods, a large, fluffy red creature is settled into the soft grass. A tiny bear cub peeks out from the foliage, its ears perked up as it lets out a small sound of surprise. The little red cub sits down, its round back to the camera as it takes in the sights and sounds of the vibrant forest. Sejun Park holds his knife, while Teo, the peddler cat, enjoys a snack. He gets a serious look in his eyes as he focuses on the task at hand. With a quick swoosh, he slices through his homegrown green onions. The stalks fall perfectly into neat pieces. Sejun stands back, proud of his harvest. The white farmer bunnies and Teo burst into applause for his skills. Sejun gives the cat a friendly pat, though the little guy doesn't seem too thrilled about it. He can't help but squish one of those soft pink paw pads. Despite the attitude, Sejun picks up his new business partner. Teo lets out a loud laugh, clearly feeling himself. He lets out a cute meow, trying to maintain his dignity. Sejun gives him a good look over. He sets the cat back down on the dirt. Teo seems to be making a pitch, while a black bunny watches from the sidelines. The cat tries to get cozy, but Sejun isn't falling for it just yet. Teo decides to show off his goods and starts rummaging through his bag. He starts tossing items out for Sejun to see. A collection of jars and pouches spills onto the ground. Teo stands tall, waiting for a reaction. Sejun reaches for a small bottle and shakes some of the contents into his palm. It's a small pile of white crystals. He gives it a taste and realizes exactly what it is: pure salt. He's absolutely losing it. After months in a cave, even basic seasoning feels like a miracle. He starts checking out the rest of the haul, finding instant soup and more. Sejun is beaming, realizing how much his life is about to improve. He breaks into a happy dance while Teo declares himself the new CEO of the farm. Life in the cave is finally looking up. He gets straight to work, seasoning some fresh fish with his new treasure. Sejun can already smell the difference as he preps the meal. He sets up a cooking fire, surrounding it with bundles of his green onions. The delicious aroma drifts over to the bunnies' burrows. They come bursting out, unable to resist the scent of a home-cooked meal. Even the little ones are wide-eyed at the feast being prepared. Sejun presents the final result with a proud flourish. Skewers of fish and green onions sizzle over the open flames. He's laid out a full spread, complete with his harvested vegetables and the new seasonings. He starts handing out the skewers to his hard-working bunny crew. Teo is already flat on his back, waiting for his share. Sejun gives the cat a reassuring pat while holding a skewer ready. He offers a piece to the cat, who's finally paying attention. Teo lets out a fierce cry, ready to tear into the food. Everyone digs in, finally enjoying a meal that actually has some flavor. Sejun Park gets to work on his farm, harvesting his first batch of tomatoes while the bunnies keep things watered. He carefully plucks a ripe cherry tomato from the vine. A system alert pops up. He's just harvested 7 magic tomatoes at once, giving his XP a nice bump. Sejun proudly holds up a cluster of his red crops. Teo the cat looks over the harvest, clutching a bunch of his own with a curious meow. Sejun starts explaining the plan for their new business venture. The cat stands tall, looking ready to take on the world as the farm's official merchant. Teo's got a look of pure determination, already imagining himself becoming a big shot. Sejun can't help but be impressed by the little guy's sudden burst of ambition. Teo gives a final, enthusiastic wave before heading out. Sejun watches from the cave as his new partner begins the long trek down the tower. With Teo gone, Sejun turns his attention back to his expanding garden. Another harvest brings in 6 more ripe magic tomatoes, pushing his skill level even higher. These aren't just snacks. Each magic cherry tomato can burn 20 grams of body fat and provide a magic boost. The farm is thriving, with Sejun and the bunnies working together to clear more land. One of the black bunnies takes a break to cling to Sejun's leg for some attention. Elsewhere in the tower, a dragon figure stands amidst piles of treasure. A dragon statue sits on top of a tall pillar in a large hall. Aileen Pratani watches as the crystalline statue starts to crack. With a sharp sound, the figure shatters. In its place, a small offering of Sejun's tomatoes appears on the pedestal. Aileen lets out a satisfied huff, clearly pleased with the tribute. She keeps a close eye on her favorite human through a magical projection. Back in the cave, Sejun takes a nap on a flat rock, surrounded by a pile of fluffy bunnies. The system isn't about to let him slack off, flashing a wake-up alert right in his face. He looks up at the ceiling and spots a small red creature peering down from the opening. Sejun's eyes go wide as he realizes they've got a visitor. A system warning tells the intruder to go away, but the little red bear doesn't seem to care. A massive red paw comes crashing down, smashing a rock into dust. Sejun and the bunnies don't wait around. They start booking it across the cave. The small red bear loses its footing and comes tumbling down through the opening. Sejun stops his retreat just in time to catch the falling cub. He stares down at the little creature, surprised by how soft it feels. The cub is actually adorable, with big, innocent eyes looking right back at him. Sejun's relief is short-lived as he realizes a falling cub means a very angry mother is nearby. Sure enough, a massive, terrifying bear looms over the cave entrance. Sejun holds the cub out, hoping a peace offering will keep him from getting mauled. He gently sets the little guy back on the ground, his hands shaking a bit. The cub starts wobbling toward the bunnies, completely unaware of the tension. It reaches out to one of the black bunnies, trying to make a friend. The bunny gives the cub a couple of reassuring pats on the head, welcoming the new guy. The piece is complete as the queen poisonous honeybee arrives with her swarm to watch over the farm. The crimson grizzly cub waddles through the tomato patch, its little red tail bobbing. Suddenly, the queen poisonous honeybee descends from the sky, accompanied by her swarm. Sejun Park looks on nervously as the bees buzz around him and the cub. Sejun tries to keep the bees away from his precious tomato plants as they hover nearby. The little bear cub starts to cry, and Sejun quickly scoops it up to comfort it. Seeing the cub's distress, the queen bee produces a glowing drop of magical honey. The cub's eyes light up as it takes a taste of the honey, its mood shifting instantly to pure joy. It settles down on the ground, sharing the sweet treat with the curious bunnies. But a system window suddenly appears with a warning. The tower's administrator is not happy about the bear's presence. Ignoring the warning for a moment, Sejun gives the soft red cub a warm hug. Another alert flashes, stating that the administrator insists Sejun pays attention to the tower's rules. Sejun sits among his crops, surrounded by his growing group of animal friends, feeling a bit overwhelmed. Far away in the tower's core, Aileen Pratani watches the scene unfold through her glowing magical orb. Sejun looks down at the cub in his lap, wondering what to do with the unexpected guest. Despite the warnings, he can't help but laugh as the cub plays around. As night falls, Sejun and the bear cub relax together on a bed of soft grass. Soon, the exhausting day catches up with him, and Sejun falls into a deep sleep. While everyone is dreaming, the sound of loud chomping echoes through the quiet cave. One of the black bunnies wakes up early and begins scratching at the storage area. Its eyes go wide, and its mouth drops open in total shock at what it sees. A loud bang jolts Sejun awake, his heart racing as he tries to figure out what happened. The bunnies are absolutely furious, their faces red with anger as they point at the damage. Sejun screams in horror when he sees the state of his hard-earned harvest. Bitten pieces of sweet potatoes are scattered all over the dirt floor. Half-eaten carrots lie abandoned in the field, ruined by a hungry intruder. Sejun searches through the foliage, noticing something moving under the large leaves. He finds the crimson grizzly cub with a carrot in its mouth, caught red-handed. The cub ignores him and continues to rummage through the plants, looking for its next snack. The bunnies stomp their feet in protest, shouting at the little thief who ate their food. Unfazed by the noise, the bear keeps digging through the greenery with single-minded focus. One of the bunnies loses its temper and starts hitting the cub with a small wooden mallet. Sejun drops to his knees, staring in disbelief at the destruction of his garden. The cub finally realizes it's in trouble and tries to scurry away as the bunnies chase after it. Sejun manages to catch the cub, noticing that it has become significantly heavier after its feast. A system message explains that crimson grizzlies have bottomless stomachs and can grow at an alarming rate. Sejun breaks out into a cold sweat, realizing his entire farm might be at risk. The administrator chimes in again, warning him that the cub will eat hundreds of pounds of food if left unchecked. Sejun bows his head and offers a sincere apology to the tower's authority, while the cub looks on sheepishly. The administrator seems to soften, sending a message that the apology has been accepted. To prevent further trouble, Sejun uses a sturdy vine to tie a green harness around the cub. He explains to the bear and the bunnies that they all have to work together if they want to keep eating. With the harness secure, Sejun prepares to put the hungry little bear to work on the farm. Sejun Park waves up toward the opening at the top of the cave, preparing to send the cub back to its home. "All right, everyone, on 3, Sejun shouts, signaling the start of the rescue operation. The queen poisonous honeybee hovers nearby, her swarm ready to assist in lifting the heavy cub. The crimson grizzly cub looks down at the ground, its big purple eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. A long, sturdy vine is anchored securely, serving as a makeshift rope for the ascent. The white farmer bunnies grab hold of the vine and begin to pull with all their might, their little faces determined. "You're doing great! Keep pulling!" Sejun cheers, motivating his team as the weight of the cub tests their strength. Supported by the bees from above and the bunnies from below, the cub slowly begins to rise. The little bear flounders in the air, its paws paddling uselessly as it dangles from its harness. Before it gets too high, Sejun reaches out with one last bit of the golden honey. He offers a warm, parting smile to the creature that has caused so much chaos in his garden. The cub licks the honey from Sejun's hand, a final sweet memory of its time on the farm. Sejun watches with a wave as the cub is pulled higher and higher toward the sunlit exit. "Goodbye, take care of yourself," Sejun calls out, his voice echoing through the massive cavern. Hanging from the vine, the cub looks back down at its human friend, its adventure finally coming to an end. The bunnies cheer and celebrate as they watch their companion successfully reach the top. Sejun looks around at the messy farm, full of half-eaten vegetables, but feels a strange sense of accomplishment. He relaxes with the bunnies, satisfied that he was able to help the little lost bear find its way. His tomato plants continue to flourish, their bright red fruit a testament to the hard work put into the farm. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts, and Sejun and the bunnies look up in absolute shock. A gargantuan adult crimson grizzly appears at the edge of the pit, its massive silhouette blocking out the light. To Sejun's amazement, the little cub is perched safely on its parent's head, happily waving a paw. Sejun can only manage a weak, trembling smile as he stares up at the terrifying power of a fully grown dungeon monster.